Thank you so much, Lottie, and wow. Optic Gaming going up against Sentinels, two undefeated teams here in pool play, and this matchup can be so important. This could be the difference maker, who ultimately makes it far into tomorrow's bracket, and who has a much harder road and maybe goes down to elimination bracket much earlier than expected.
Yeah, ultimately we keep talking about when are Sentinels going to keep breaking into those further parts in the bracket, how are they going to keep making deeper and deeper runs. And ultimately, if you're going to do that, you have to beat the #1 seed out of your pool, whether you do that now in pool play or whether you do that tomorrow in bracket play. And so here is one chance right now for Sentinels to set themselves up for success by trying to take down Optic Gaming.
And I'm really happy these two teams are matching up today because I've had so many question marks about both of these teams. Like, for example, Optic Gaming obviously not looking exactly the same as they were, late last year, even early this year, for example. And even on the other side, Sentinels got top 4 at Arlington, yes, and I respect that, but still, newer team. Limited practice, was it a honeymoon phase, or are they the real deal? Are they going to continue to do this event after event? This matchup right here is going to answer so many questions, Optic versus Sentinels.
Yeah, you're correct on that front. I mean, Sentinels had a stellar event last time. Optic, I feel, have hit a little bit of a blockade, and like you said, are they going to be able to break through here? When I've been looking at Optic's last placings, however, one, they ran to a red-hot quadrant were playing so well at Arlington, had the highest placing of an EU tournament, or EU team in the history of Halo. But secondly, I feel like Optic has kind of historically matched not so great against Space Station Gaming for whatever reason that is. You heard Clutch speculating down there around sandbox reasons. I don't know if it's because Space Station, that crew, have studied Optic or figured them out or have adapted better. But in short, I've noticed a lot of Optic's losses have come from Space Station. And so we're going to see how strong do they start off this event? Are they going to be able to handle a team like Sentinels here, and how deep of a run they can make? Because like we said, that we expect the world out of Optic. They came out as the strongest team at the end of last year. They started this year #1 place, but then they've just kind of slowly had not the results that you expect. If you're an Optic fan or you're one of those Optic players, they're expecting to be in every finals, and they're expecting to win.
Yeah, large expectations now for both of these teams, and Capture the Flag Aquarius will be game #1, the ultimate test for both of them, which kind of lends favor to Optic Gaming. They had a 5-1 record back at Arlington on Capture the Flag. Meanwhile, Sentinels, they split the difference, a 50% record, 3-3 going into Arlington. So a lot different of results, but I will say, every time we watch bubu, dubu, and Falcated on screen, they always seem to have great objective defense, and a lot of times we talk about how that objective defense can be frustrating to really good Capture the Flag teams and eventually convert into some offense. I don't want to count Sentinels out just yet here in game 1.
Yeah, absolutely cannot count them out. Aquarius CTF is such a game mode that everyone here is going to know. However, if you expect them to do better, you want them to go off to a strong game mode. However, while we wait for that game to get started up, we're going to hop on with FaZe Clan versus G1. G1's actually up 1-0 so far in this series, going into game #2 on Aquarius Slayer.
Well, I mean, you saw when you look at the top 5 Slayers in this tournament, my man Suspector was up there. A 1.42 KDA coming out of Suspector. I might have Caster's Curse him a little bit, 0-2 right now, but the game's still young.
Just getting started. Just getting warmed up here. And both these teams kicking it off. And what a nice challenge from Frosty to get that killing spree. Unafraid to drop down and help over at Car 1. Look at these players, like I said, when they know their teammates are fighting, they will go out in full force together.
Love this young man on screen, Precision, formerly of Gears of War. He is a main Slayer, and Huss too. Huss is really underrated as a player that just plays well beyond his years. High IQ player. I really like this G1 roster, and they played so amazing during that qualifier leading up into this event and proved a lot of people wrong.
Well, we can't tell you exactly how this one will end, but if you'd like, you can go back to the B stream to see how that game ends up. We are here on the main stage, ready to watch Sentinels and Optic kick it off here with game 1 on Aquarius CTF.
Two rosters. Give me one player who's one of your players to watch out for going into this matchup.
Oh my gosh, that's so difficult when you have this many solid players out there, but I'm gonna have to go with the one closest to us on the camera here. Bubu Dubu made a big change coming on over here to Sentinels. They've already seen some immediate success through Arlington, and can they continue that here in pool play today? Well, Time will tell, and we're about to find out right now, Tony.
It's pretty crazy. When Bubu Dubu's your tertiary slayer on the team behind Falcated and Sparty, you know you have a good roster. And coming into Aquarius, they are going to be tested. Optic Gaming are looking to get back into championship form. It starts right here. Capture the flag.
And here we go, kicking it off with my man Bubu Dubu, checking things out over a car. And look at how these starting strats have changed a bit. Lucid jumping off top flag, challenging over towards the util. Bubu being the normal sneaky player he is, realizing he's last one alive. He was last spotted at car and wants to make his way out, but Optic are too smart and they're cutting off all the angles. Bubu is shut down. APG grabs the flag and gets a stick over towards Falcated.
What a start by Optic Gaming. Overwhelming pressure comes in and Sentinels find himself 4 down and a wipe off the rip. Optic Gaming already going to be advancing this flag forward. Clearly, they're not playing any games here.
They have it all the way towards their util. Now they're going to get to this position to say, do they need to drop and slay or do they run it right in? Decides to drop for a short period in time, but that's going to be the first flag going in by Lucid.
Less than a minute worth of gameplay. We already see a 1-0 lead coming out of Optic Gaming. This is the reason why this was their bread and butter at Arlington. 5-1 record on capture the flag, even against the likes of Sentinels.
Such a strong map in mode from the squad, but look at this methodical play. They get the kills, they get the strong positions, and then they push back on over towards util and continue to hold those areas where if they get the additional slays, they're able to move that flag safely across the map. And just like we saw in the very beginning of Halo Infinite, these teams opting to run it over towards the util side.
Bringing that flag over towards the strong side, but it looks like Sentinels were able to slow them down just a bit. The final player of Sentinels is going to be LethuL. Nades are coming in, and so are the respawners from Sentinels. And you know what? I think now's the perfect time. Let's hop on board with a listening with Optic Gaming. You're fresh off of a 1-0 start. Let's see how they continue that motion.
Our pink jump.
Looking car 1, Joe.
Our pink jump.
Car 3.
Car 3. P2 absolute. P2 weak.
Car jump,
They got me. Our car jump, guys. Stays the thrust. And one was pink 2.
Yeah, they pink jump 1 shot.
I'm looking. Nice. Still car 1 somewhere?
Yeah,
He's still car 1 somewhere. Could be our gen.
I got him.
Nice.
Nice.
That was a thrust.
Sparty.
Thrust.
I'll close it.
He's going car 3.
Going car 2 weak. Sparty, our side.
Sparty dead.
Here's one pink, guys.
Last guy pick 2. Last guy pick 2. Pull. Last guy pick 2.
Thinks you're really weak. Bubu. One shot
On me, the fridge on me.
Shots up on mid.
Already bad. Our fridge as well, guys. Our fridge going into our flag. 2 dead. One's our pink door. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Dead. 2 dead. Nice. Throw.
Pink's
I felt pink 2 lethal. And one's in front base. Last guy. Watch out for the base, Sparty. It's
Look
all
at
you,
one
man.
second.
All you. They're gen 1 shot Sparty. Our fridge right now, Tommy. They're gen 1 shot Sparty right
Looking
now.
for him.
Look at him. He's still 100% there. Yeah, they're gen again. Hit him once, Tommy. Hit him twice.
I'll see him. Gen
Bread.
absolute gen.
Nice. 2. Nice. 3.
Should be spawning pink or
He's gonna
back
be a flag, I
flag.
think. Hey, he's gonna be a flag, I think.
That's in their base.
He waves up soon.
One for the base, man.
Give it.
Hear that?
Fridge.
Fridge.
I'm
Top
absolute.
fridge.
I'm pushing.
We can run this
Are
pink.
you weak? Are you street?
Yeah, I'm one shot, Brad. I'm one shot.
Absolute
You should die.
Fridge absolute still.
Hear that?
Pushing.
He's
spawning gen. They're gen.
Other flag absolute.
Yeah,
Watch out for base.
Last guy.
Let's go.
I need back into our flag. He's probably on our
Watch
side
over
somewhere.
Joey.
He should be on our side.
Car 2 with shots. That's him.
Okay.
Watch car 3. Still car 2. Weak.
Hear that. Just keep moving that flag.
As a car 2.
Yeah, I'll
Another guy
have
have the car door. I'm hiding.
I can't help this.
Our car jump weak. Sparty.
I'm one shot.
Our car door now, Tommy. Our car door now.
3 on 3. 2 dead. Nice shot.
Yeah, maybe one more on me. Yeah, our gen.
What a clinic in communication there by Optic Gaming. Few things you'll notice as they are always keeping a track of where the members of Sentinels are. They're saying, hey, the last one's over here, bottom card. Did we clear that one out yet? Okay, moving on to the next one. They're not letting any flankers get by. It's no surprise when we watch the beginning of that map how Bubu Dubu was spotted out. They knew where he's at and they did not let him sneak by.
And it's that effective communication that's about to lead to a 4-0 start. Optic already have this flag in the base. They're about to punch this one in. One shot, TriPPPeY's gonna wait for his shields to come back. Once it does, easy count. Okay, there we go. All right, showing off a little bit.
Just taking his time. One thing TriPPPeY realizing is that these opposing members on Sentinels, when somebody's putting that flag in, a lot of times they're looking to lay down that damage, get that kill, and then move across the map. Instead, waiting for his shields to come fully back, letting them sit up in a spot where they're maybe not doing as much damage in the past. So that was, besides getting a few extra style points, there's actually some rhyme and reason to that.
one thing that really impressed me during the listening for Optic Gaming is not even just the effective communication, but also responding to those call-outs. Like, as soon as the call-out is made, as soon as the decision is made, you're gonna say, I can do that, I'm there. I love that response to call-outs, and I love this ping-pong action coming out of Formal. No wonder why it's a 16-5 start. You can't kill the man.
No, just great QT play there out of Formal. We also saw that out of APG earlier. One thing they'll do is every time they grab that quantum teleporter, they will run to a way further away spot on the map to make sure that they're traversing back and forth. That way, the members of Sentinels have to have forces on both sides. If you don't win the first fight where APG or Formal currently at, they're not going to teleport. And if they do win that first fight, they're just going to teleport where you don't have coverage. It's just such a great coverage of the map, and that's why you'll see them instantly sprint and cover more ground when they're teleporting back and forth.
Optic did momentarily go 3 down, so it might be an opportunity for Sentinels to continue to push forward as they just put Optic 2 down, once again allowing them to advance forward. LethuL already having that pull, making it over towards the strong side at the moment and barely touched. TriPPPeY's doing everything he can to stay alive. He's the only one that might be able to stop this flag, but then LethuL slides into his DMs real quick, deals with him quickly. LethuL eventually goes down thanks to his former teammate, and that flag is sitting in no man's land. 3 down, go Optic. I don't think it's going to be returned. It is.
Ah, man, APG, just as they got the flag all the way towards util, two main members of Sentinels were spread thin. They didn't have the firepower needed. You also notice how TriPPPeY did a good job of staying alive, buying as much time as possible over the fridge, drawing somebody over towards the fridge side of the flag, and then just sprinting over towards util. So all these members, when they're staying alive as that last flanker, are using up as many resources as possible from the opposing team.
A 4-0 start coming out of Optic Gaming. The one bright side for Sentinels that it happened so quickly that you have plenty of time on the board to try to tie things up. But you gotta play some clean Halo here, and with that heat wave into the BR combo from bubu, dubu, taking down Formal momentarily, giving him that numbers advantage. He's able to deal with APG as well. Now you got a bit of a 1v1. Not able to win that one. Is gonna back down and play his life, and TriPPPeY is still angling him out.
Yeah, TriPPPeY is committed to killing bubu out of the base. You notice bubu didn't want to just jump out and challenge that right away because much more at risk, much more to lose. bubu was behind enemy lines. And because of that great distraction, you see Sentinels still putting pressure on, still pushing across the map. They had 2 members of Optic down, and they still are in a strong spot. We could see Sentinels continue to apply this pressure and get a potential second flagpole.
3 members of Optic Gaming on screen, but you see 3 members of Sentinels starting to infiltrate that base. Sparty starts it off by pulling that flag, tries to draw the attention of Optic. He does that. They go 3 down.
Yeah, you saw that push and pull, just assuming they had enough control and just the wrong time to pull that flag. Sometimes it feels like if the flag's not moving, you want to grab that and get it right away, but other times you need to make sure you get the damage first and foremost, especially against a strong Slayer squad like Optic.
And Optic been wasting no time whatsoever. The moment Sentinels end up losing those numbers is the moment that flag is pulled, and it's already at the 50% portion of the map. This could be the final flag being run by Optic. The nades are coming in. Lucid ends up going down. TriPPPeY's forced to pull out of position to make sure he secures those kills. Will that flag be relayed?
Smart play by TriPPPeY, almost getting the triple, but damage has been done. All 4 down for Sentinel. APG gonna score that 5th and final flag. A lot of that thanks due to TriPPPeY's smart play, realizing that all the members of Sentinels were gonna have their crosshairs fixated over towards that util door. He could not desperate that flag in, instead repositions towards top card, deals out damage, realized that they had to get kills before they were gonna get that cap. So he wisely takes his time because he's the dictator of that. He could either spread that flag in or run it back. Sentinels cannot take that risk. They had to have their eyes fixated over on that util door.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Dave, this is scary. That wasn't just a 5-0 start. That was a message and a full team effort by Optic Gaming, whether it was Formal slaying, which was absolutely out of control, APG's ability to get that return despite being the final player alive, or like you said, TriPPPeY's heads up play to stop pulling that flag and put down that damage. Everyone on Optic Gaming doing their part.
That's a really good point, Tony. Considering how fast they scored those flags, how much they were in control of the map, rarely do we see an Aquarius flag get 5 caps, especially that fast, and especially with that much control for the majority of the game. Look at that. They had 4 flags in less than 4 minutes. They were in such a strong position the entire time.
See, we thought that was teabagging. It wasn't teabagging. TriPPPeY, he's really big on finish. So you get a couple squats in there, you know, mid-game.
Yeah, never skip leg day.
Exactly, and that's why he was able to run that flag so fast. That wasn't disrespect. That was just him trying to get a quick workout in.
Well, looking into game number 2 here, it's going to be Recharge Slayer. Last time these two teams played Slayer at Arlington, it was a complete different story. It was around 50 to 22, I believe we got from our stats, but that was Empyrean Slayer, which can be much more snowbally. So I don't expect this to be any form of blowout, but clearly Sentinels have their work cut out for them. When the game was fast and quick pressure, Optic seemed just fine there in Aquarius CTF. Now they get an opportunity, if they really want to slow it down here on Recharge Slayer. Sentinels can set the pace. They don't have to panic as much with that flag moving across the map. They get to take their time and see if they can outmaneuver Optic Gaming.
Although I didn't expect a 5-0 sweep like we saw coming out of Optic Gaming, the stats did lead to, again, I said, their best game type the last time we saw Optic on land. Meanwhile, Sentinels not really the best capture the flag team over at Arlington. This is a little bit different. This is Sentinel's second best game type was Slayer, putting out that 5-2 start, or a 5-2 record, excuse me, but it's also Optic's best game type last time we saw them on land. So at least it's going to be much more even. I expect to be a back and forth. Like you said, it was really competitive back on Empyrean, and I think that will carry over here on Recharge, which happens to be our game number 2. Sentinels just got swept in that game 1. They need to answer back. Can they do it against the Green Wall?
They're going to have to do it right here. Like you said, if this is statistically their second best game mode, they got to prove it right here, right now. I always believe that your skill is always in relation to your opponents. Your stronger game modes, your position should always be taken in relation to your opponents. And as you said before, if this is considered Optic's number 1, they have their work cut out. Bubu trying to fly right in, get that touch. That looks like Bubu and Falcated both kind of desperate towards that camo. My guess is they assumed Optic were going to have a more lax start. They were going to flank around a bit more. It's kind of like a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors at the beginning, Tony. Some team, if they throw all the resources towards the camo right away, the team that camps right around the camo is going to counter that. However, the team that camps right around the camo is going to get flanked and lose to a team that takes the wider routes, which ultimately loses to that rock beginning part, like I said before. Someone that just goes all in on the camera right away and is avoiding those flank routes. So it's kind of a little bit of mind game sometimes off the start there when going for those initial power-ups.
Well, the counter strat did ultimately end up working out for Optic, but the camouflage player goes down quickly, and now we see a double push come out of Optic Gaming over toward the tower side. No real utilities in hand. Formal has a really great off angle over toward the bottom gold stairs, but Sparty clears him out quickly, and now that glass gold control, which is so important in the hands of Sentinels, right as Optic goes 3 down, make it 4.
Looking so good right there. Now, one thing that will be interesting to find out later is how do Sentinels continue to keep this pressure up? And then secondly, are Optic a little too dependent on having control and having things a bit more calmed down? Because things are fine if you're calm and talking about where's the last member here of Sentinels. But when your team doesn't have all those angles, when you don't have the advantage, at some point you have to shoot your way out. You can call out all you want, you can teamwork as best you can, but ultimately people have to hit shots and they have to get a kill. And sometimes those players that are used to more chaotic situations because of either past teams or just your team's play style, they're going to thrive in those situations. Whereas someone like Optic, they're so well structured, they're so used to having each other's backs, they're so used to saying, hey, in our ideal situation, we want to have players in position A, B, and C. So we're going to have to see how this one pans out, because as this game was chaotic at the beginning, you saw Sentinels just taking off, and they have a 13-kill lead, Tony.
Sentinels have been able to read Optic's playbook, and it is working for them. A 19-6 start coming out of Sentinels, and look at LethuL trying to be a sneaky beaver, hiding in plain sight with that camouflage. He is taken down. Sentinels do end up going 3 down, but why don't we hop into a listening with them coming off a spawn? They still have a dominant lead, and they can still bounce back here.
There's a guy bottom A holding me though.
Long now, long now.
Turn around, turn
Glass.
around.
Hold on, I'm going for the glass guy.
Punching glass.
Yep.
He'll die, he'll die.
Bottom A weak,
Nice
Lucid.
job,
Hey, I'm going back to C.
Yeah.
I'm cutting mid map actually.
I
Let's
hear
go,
that,
let's
I
go.
hear that, Jesse. I'm
Maybe
with you.
Ballich, maybe
Make a turbo push.
yeah.
Make a
Yeah,
turbo
half
push.
wall sniper.
Top A weak, top A weak, Lucid.
Almost sniping. Watch out, sniping.
I got
Bottom A.
killed by door.
Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Respawning. Half wall.
Shot. Two half wall. He had shock there.
I swung glass. I swung glass.
Dude,
They
I
could be
just
terror.
spawned
They
down
could be
trippy.
terror.
One's already silo.
Top
I'll
A
go, I'll go.
sniping.
Yeah.
He's top A sniping,
Half wall.
holding this
Half wall
sneaky
weak, half
angle.
wall
Watch
weak.
out,
One is
Mike.
blue. One is
And
blue.
on shock one,
Right
the
here.
batteries.
Yeah.
One was like
Yeah,
ballage or something.
I spawned in red. I'm
Top
trying to
A, top A sniping weak.
Yo,
and
half
one's
wall.
half wall.
We
Half wall, one shot,
Bat
bottom A.
ledge, bat ledge.
Silo, silo.
Ballage or something on toilet.
Nice.
Nice.
We got one. We can
One
move.
silo.
Tier one, bottom A, bottom A.
Yeah.
Like I'm
going
tier
bottom
one
mid, going
with you.
bottom mid.
Tier one weak, Tyler.
Yeah, one is back silo on me,
I
so.
think bottom A.
Yes, I know, TJ, I know.
Okay.
Bottom A,
Lucid
weak,
on me.
APG.
I'm helping you, TJ. I'm helping you.
Half
Shot.
wall,
Absolute.
half wall. Do you, Tyler?
Got one. I hear that.
Top bottom A and top A. Last two.
I died. Two lockers.
Yeah,
Last
both
two.
there, both
I
there.
hope I
Go,
hope.
go.
Last two
on
lockers.
this
He
side.
has a shock. He has a
Dead.
shock.
Dead.
Nice. Two dead.
I'm one shot. Yo, C-stairs bottom mid.
Guys, camo 20.
I
Camo
just see
20
one.
seconds.
Might be
I'm
bottom
looking
mid.
bottom mid already.
He's repulsed,
Yeah, I
repulsed.
have shots repulse.
I hear that.
APG
There's
one
guy
shot.
behind me,
Shot.
sneaky.
Where?
Glass on me.
Sneaky. Yeah.
Glass
C-steps on me
weak,
bottom mid.
glass
Lucid.
Covered
Nice.
weak, covered weak.
Okay.
Go glass.
Nice.
One long, one
Got
long.
camo 7
I'll go
seconds.
glass. Dead.
Four dead. One up.
Watch
One just
A
spawn.
for
One just spawn.
camo.
One
Watch
just
A
spawn.
towards camo.
Yep.
2 seconds. 2 seconds. Left.
We don't really. I
Bottom
spawn
A.
batteries, bro.
I'm nading off
Getting
your bottom
the
A.
I'm
Grab
watching.
it.
I'm watching C.
I got it.
Oh, I can't watch
Needles.
them. Needles, kill me,
Dead.
guys.
Nice
Nice.
job.
I'm one shot.
We're
Batteries.
gonna be A, I think.
Half wall.
Now listen to how chaotic and how emotional they are during a lot of these callouts. Just yelling out where people are at, yelling out where they spawn. Let's actually go to an Optic Gaming listen-in so you can hear the difference in these comms between these two squads.
Tower. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna
You
be.
guys watch my cross.
They might push off this, guys. They might push off
Yo,
this.
watch our mid for a second.
Tower
Watch
weak,
our mid.
Jesse.
We have gold
Terrell,
over right now.
Half there,
Watching
Jesse.
you. Okay, yeah, we have
Long
gold.
goal, big door, big door.
Same thing we play off Brad.
We're not
Big
watching
door,
bottom
big
side.
door,
They can
glass.
sneak through
I'm
bottom.
trying to watch
Yo,
bottom.
C-plot, C-plot walking out.
Big door, weak.
Yo, glass, come in on me. Glass,
Yo, one guy mid,
Yo,
mid,
neither,
mid,
neither,
kill.
neither.
One shot,
Double
one
kill,
Couple weak guys.
Here you go.
One shot,
Upstairs, guys.
Last guy's long though. Last guy. I'm pushing long
Yeah,
out.
push behind you.
One shot lethal.
He's still sneaky. He's hiding
They're
sneaky.
gonna
He's hiding
spawn
right here on the
elevator.
box. One shot. Yeah, they're gonna spawn
Elevator,
bat ledge and A.
Heights going in. Or pass is gold. Going to gold.
Hey, listen, we're gonna play off gold here, all right?
Alright,
They're in gold. They're in gold.
Native
Half
balance
half
for you
also.
guys. Native
Yo, already top gold, Brad.
I'm gonna need the drain.
Yeah, I hear that.
Nice,
Might
guys.
be one more. Might be one more.
Top A weak, top A half.
One
Really
shot,
weak top A.
one shot.
Really weak top A. Half one shot lethal absolution.
Yo, collapse on A here. Collapse on A together. Use our numbers.
Double bottom A, one shot, bottom A, one shot lethal.
Get to Matt.
He's still down here.
Yo,
Hold on.
C-plot. Yo,
Nice,
C-plot. C-plot going long all. C-plot going long all.
Come on.
Long one shot. Absolute long.
Playing the
Absolute long.
cheese
Absolute
skill,
Okay, listen,
Yeah,
guys.
I'm
I have shock. I have
Okay.
shock.
Absolute long.
Say
Absolute
that Silos, party. Yeah, I'm right here.
Yo,
Yo,
block.
top tower, I'm done. Top A cap, dropping mango pit, mango pit.
Yo,
chasing.
Mango pit.
It's one shot.
On back. Needle jump up, two needle jump up right now. Two needles.
I got one.
Still here.
I'm weak
There's
also.
another guy top tower.
Neither, guys,
Neither, guys. Neither.
There's one shot. He's one shot mango pit. One shot mango pit.
Top tower. Bottom A.
Yo, C-plat and bottom tower.
One is bottom
C-plat,
tower. Say up.
We're not watching crosses
Only
right
down
now.
by 6, guys.
That's not gold. That's not gold.
Listen, we're gonna need to set up for this next
They're
game,
trying
alright?
to kill me glass. They're trying to kill me glass. Long haul right now, Sparty. They're trying to kill
Yeah,
me glass.
I'm watching your long. I'm watching this.
Getting the fuck out
I
of
got
here.
one. I got one.
Tower.
You guys top tower. Yo, listen. I have a repulsor sticky. I'm gonna try to go for
Top tower again, top tower again.
Yeah, C-plot. C-plot.
I'm trying to push this.
Very weak,
Tower weak. Tower weak.
One shot C-stairs. One shot
Tower weak.
C-stairs.
Tower weak also.
All right, so maybe not as calm and collected as I predicted based on the Aquarius comms, but this game has heated up, and you can hear how these teams are organizing their different pushes. You'll hear how Optic are still yelling out callouts and where people are at, but thinly veiled throughout those callouts are, we're trying to control gold here. We have this. They have this overall greater structure that I feel like I'm hearing in the Optic callouts compared to Sentinels. It felt like a lot of them just kind of have these bloodlust callouts. Someone's weak here. We're charging. There's 2 left at lockers. Go, go, go.
Been fun to listen to the cons. Also been fun to watch the electrifying plays coming out of that shock rifle with Lucid. However, Formal did die with the camouflage, and Sentinels still have a 7-kill lead going into the end game. Optic did pick it up. They did inch their way forward, but Sentinels once again have responded and are looking to tie the series up.
Yeah, look at these member Sentinels. They want to get aggro. They realize even though they have a lead, they want to set the pace. They want to be the ones that are pushing in on their terms. And that's why you saw Bubu trying to make a play. You saw Sparty trying to create an opening for said play. And they both went down. But that's okay in the grand scheme of things, because overall, you've seen how Sentinels have thrived throughout the rest of this game. When they push, not every push is going to be successful, but when they are damaging.
We're starting to see Optic start to huddle up here. 3-man push over toward the tower side, and APG even giving up his long haul position to kind of join them. Optic are if they're going to fight, they're going to fight as a team, and they're going to send bodies at Sentinel. Sentinel needs to read the situation. Otherwise, this game can turn right around to only 4.
Only 4 separating these. And the reason that's been closing is we've been seeing a lot of pushes from Sentinels. There is an argument for the strategy to say, hey, once you have this kind of lead, especially as you get in the 40s, should you force Optic to make the push? But like I said, it's definitely a situation these Sentinels members have been in before. They've decided that they want to be the aggressors. They want to push in on their terms. And that's another shutdown there as they spot out bubu dubu, pushing over near stacks.
This was once a 41-34 game. Sentinels still have 41. Optic have now brought it to just 2. This is going to be bad if Sentinels aren't able to close it out. Finally, a kill goes in favor of Sentinels, and it's going to be Sparty taking down Lucid, but bubu dubu does go down. All they got to do is trade out their lives, and finally Sentinels, they're starting to move into rhythm.
Yep, they've gotten a couple kills here, and that's what happens is when Sentinels do get that opening, they are not hesitating to fly across the map. They're a very fast-paced team, which works out incredibly well when your team has the advantage. However, if your team's getting caught out in the center during neutral or disadvantageous times, that's where it can come to hurt you, and you can bleed a few kills. Back to a 5-kill lead, though, for Sentinels. This one's gonna be tough for Optic to pull out.
Bubu dubu ends up poking out, runs into Formal, don't chase! Bubu dubu takes down Formal with that shock rifle, and now you're talking about all that A control back in favor of Sentinels as they are now 1 kill away from tying up the series. Here it is over towards the Badlands side. I was getting some flashbacks back from season 1 for a second.
No fear there from bubu, even though he's getting spotted and shot by the first person. He wants to go end that, and that's gonna be the 50th and final kill going in the hands of what I believe to be Spartan, based on that enthusiasm I saw from those fist bumps.
I mean, he's getting enthusiastic not only for his own play, but for his teammates' plays too. It don't matter. If the coach makes a good call, he's going to explode at the end of the game as well. Sparty, one of the best teammates to hype you up, and Sentinels come out with the series.
Is there a similarity, like in his name, Spartan the dog, sort of like to a real dog? Like, if you're all hyped, I'm excited. I'm hyped up too. You're ready to go? Let's go.
We gotta love that energy, you really do. But now I'm wondering, like, does that lend over towards Sentinels? They were able to close things out, but I will say I was kind of worried for a second. 41-34 at the end game. Then you see Optic claw the way back into a bring it only to just 2 kills. That was a little scary.
A little scary, indeed. You did see a few different pushes get shut down. You saw great defense from Optic. We have to consider Optic are one of the best teams in the world here in Halo Infinite. They're allowed to stop a few pushes from time to time. However, one thing I did like, though, from Sentinels is they didn't exactly give up or turtle or change from their deviated strategy. They realized they have a strength in being aggressive. They have strong members like bubu and Sparty who know how to navigate around setups to push behind enemy lines. And as soon as they get that kill, the rest of the players are not afraid to fly in. You saw how quickly Falcated would just charge across the map or fly across the map to help push that numbers advantage. So, in my eyes, yes, it's a little scary that you drop a couple kills there or you don't have the large lead that you once had, but they kept up with that strategy and they still closed out at a very strong lead. They closed out at the 50-44 mark, which is around that 7-kill lead.
And when you're able to control the pace that well, you know, slowing the game down when necessary and like just speeding it up on a dime when you have to, I have to think that will lay well for you going into King of the Hill on Solitude, which is our game number 3. I will say, looking at the stats, Sentinel, this is actually their 2nd worst game type, but I'm saying from what I saw in that Slayer recharge, maybe that carries over.
It could. Now, I think the biggest difference that's going to happen here between dictating that pace of the game between Slayer Recharge versus King of the Hill Solitude is just that longer spawn time, and if those members are going to wait to be at full force before making a push out. Because you saw how effective Optic were at staggering spawns in that game number 1. They'd get a kill or 2. They'd track down the rest of the members. They weren't able to actually track down the rest of the members on Slayer Recharge because the map was so big, the spawn timers are so short. It's not quite the same.
One thing I did notice from Optic Gaming is that the start of each of these games have gone towards them. Even during that 19-6 start from Sentinels, remember, the first 3 kills went to Optic Gaming. They eventually got camouflaged because of it. So if they can start off hot here on the opening grip, it could give them that first middle hill, which is, oh, so hard to get. King of the Hill Solitude series is tied 1 apiece. This is a swing game 3. This next win could decide momentum in the series.
Absolutely. Now, are they going to be able to, like I said, wait till they get the full force to make these pushes out? or are we going to see a very aggressive game all across the board from Sentinels despite the numbers? Spartan and crew pushing over towards Nest, trying to get this initial sniper or QT. We're going to see who comes away with these weapons or power-ups.
I said on the desk earlier, I said Sparty sneakily one of the best snipers in the game, and you saw him go all the way towards that Nest side, but as Sparty goes down, there's an opportunity for Optic to grab hold of all of the goodies. Formal takes down one, Lucid takes down the other.
Yep, and there's 2 down. Falcated, one of the only members left here for Sentinels. Is he going to be able to stay alive and stay away? And he does. Trying to track down Lucid over at the dip, over towards Bomb Center, eventually picked down, but that's going to be 2 down apiece, and nobody's really messing with this hill off the start. They want to get those slays, and they want that sniper.
And looks like bubu dubu putting his body on the line between him and the green wall, and he's going to be rewarded with the sniper because of it. 2 members of Optic hit the black screen, so that's going to be Sentinels sliding into not only the hill, but also the more favorable spawns. You just have one more player to deal with an APG, and he hits the black screen as well.
Great aggression there from Sentinels. They got 3 members down. They knew APG was last one over at Tram/Loop, just going to clear him out and just scooping up this free time, forcing Optic to push on outside of blue or go towards hotel to get some angle.
Falcon takes down Lucid. Back-to-back kills coming out of the duo. Glad to see bubu dubu and Falcated back. Bubu dubu go for a little bit of high-risk, high-reward. Repulse jump eventually gets taken out. Still allows Sparty and Sentinels to not only control the A side, but to get even more time here. Sparty's in the hill. Lucid goes for the challenge. Both players down to 1 shot. Sparty did peek back out.
This is insane. He was the last member alive. He was up there for so long, and somehow Sparty gets a double kill while scrapping up so much crucial time in the top center. That was insane. In my eyes, that play was solid because at the beginning to make that decision, because you're just going to scrap up time. You're likely going to get hunted down anyways. Might as well put a little more points on the board towards that hill. But somehow it turns out even better by securing those kills, getting even more time. So just incredible individual effort there from Sparky.
And at times it's that scrappy time that can be the difference of you ultimately taking the hill or not. But Optic bounce back like they always do. They get the numbers advantage. Now they're fighting hard for that A-side control here. It looks like Sentinels will have to fight out and slay out one more time before they get that last tick that they need in the first hill.
Yeah, they can either desperate it and just try to get those last couple seconds, but ultimately, Sentinels want to set themselves up better for this second hill. They don't want to just put all 4 buys in the hill, grab this first point, and then go down a point and tie, essentially, against Optic. So what you're going to see here is they're going to go for these slays. You see Optic now overcommitting towards the top center hill. Yes, they will take it at points, especially when they get enough control, but they're not going to overcommit towards the top center hill.
Excellent shots out of Formal to take down one, but Sparty comes in quick for the cleanup. But you see that kill feed, it's lighting up blue. Optic take control once again. Sparty was the final player alive, ends up with the sniper, puts it to work immediately, but that should change hands.
TriPPPeY trying to hold it down here at S4. This hill's actually starting to be scary. This is something that Sentinels are going to have to start worrying about more. Before, when it was about a quarter of the way, it really was not a worry whatsoever. It was like, this is clearly going to be a Sentinels hill. It's just a matter of time. And there's the last couple seconds going in the favor of Sentinels as they dip their toe in and are rewarded with the first point.
And not only to take that first hill, but you got momentary control over the driveway side. So Optic once again have to slay you out before they're able to get into their own setup. And it looks like Formal is spotted and dealt with. Sparty ends up going down a brawl over towards driveways, going to favor Sentinels. All 4 players of Optic are wiped. This is going to be some good time for Sentinels.
Look at this, Falcated, very aware of the spawns, realizing someone could likely go towards dip or be near hotel. So still watching that angle, uncertain if somebody slipped by, but here comes the push. He sees it coming from yard now. Likely, or does a good job clearing out yard there with his teammate, or dip there with his teammate. But now you see Sentinels kind of back on the back foot. They had control of the hill over a driveway. They had positioning over towards top center, but they kind of gave up position in the yard all to Optic.
Optic were able to take back that yard side control. Sentinels go right back at it. Some more scrappy time as Optic are starting to move into position. Lucid takes the low side. You see two players up towards yard. Sentinels deal with the low side player first, try to double back. Doesn't have the shields to work with, but the damage has been done. Once again, Sentinels, they are winning these team fights, and it's going to translate to a 2-0 start if something doesn't change.
Yeah, Sentinels just doing a good job fighting together. So even some of those times where I'm critiquing and assuming Sentinels might be making a mistake, they're backing down as a team, and then they're re-entering the fight or the hill as a team. They aren't just trying to hold ground individually just because it's a place that they had before. Now looking what they're going to do over here in bomb dip. This is going to be APG and crew just trying to hold this down. It's 1 down a piece, make that 2 down here for Sentinels. And this has been relatively uncontested this entire time. This is a great third hill going in favor of Optic so far.
When this third hill started, Optic were able to wipe the 4 players off the map from Sentinels, and it's continued. Look at that progression. You're about, what, 70% done with this hill? Meanwhile, Sentinels are just starting to touch it now, and even Sparty is taken out quickly. 2-on-2 situation, so this next slay going to be so important. Looks like it goes in favor of Optic, and they're also the first ones to spawn.
Yeah, and this can be incredibly daunting. When another team gets so far ahead in the hill, you start to question yourself saying, all right, do we just kind of give up on this one? Do we just start to get slays and stuff for the next one? How do we really handle this? I mean, it's still too early in the game to just try to play time fully here for Sentinels. They can't just try to slay here and slay next hill. It's just too much of a risk given how much time is left. But at the same time, Sentinels don't want to overcommit towards getting time and getting halfway on the hill when Optic are likely going to take it anyways.
Yeah, it's a little tough. I feel like if Optic didn't start off with that 70% to 0% progression, maybe we can start talking about time here. But minute and 21 seconds on the clock. Optic have yet to find that last tick, and now Sentinels are starting to work for this hill at the moment, and time is starting to wind down, so maybe Optic are able to take this one. They still need one more in order to tie up the game.
Yeah, actually, Optic are kind of putting themselves in a tricky position here because they want to take it and they want to take it fast. Now, before when we had a minute 40 left on the clock, it's a little different to consider how much time is left. But now that there's only a minute left and Optic aren't really in position to dip their toe in, they almost can just slay here. Sentinels can likely just run this clock, and that looks like it's going to be the strategy. You see nobody from Sentinels going inside the hill. There are 45 seconds left in this match. Optic not only have to dip their toes and make themselves vulnerable to get in this bottom dip area, they also have to get full control of the next hill and close out within 35 seconds.
There was a whole 2 minutes on the clock where Optic just needed the one tick in order to finish out that hill. Now 36 seconds. They wasted so much time not closing it out, and now I'm wondering, do we have enough time in order to take this hill? Sentinels, 1 round of slays, and that might just be it for Optic Gaming.
Yeah, and they know the push is coming here from bottom left. There's a 4v3 scenario. Bubu and crew are pushing on up towards the nest. They scared TriPPPeY away, and that is fine for Sentinels. Right now, they either need to get kills or they just need to get members of Optic outside of the hill. And even if they have to repulse them out, whatever way they got to do it, it has been done.
All you gotta do is play keep away, zone Optic out for just 20 more seconds, and this game, along with momentum in this series, is yours. Time is winding down. The first one for Optic ends up going down, but they are finding the slays when it matters most, and Lucid, one of the most elusive players in the game now, with the portal, this can be dangerous for Sentinels.
Yeah, Lucid gonna be able to teleport right back in when needed, but problem is, all eyes can be fixated on this hill, so even if he teleports for a second, it's not gonna be enough. That's 3 down. Formal, last one remaining, and that is going to be 8 seconds for Optic to somehow sprint across the map and touch their toes in the hill, and I don't see that happening, Tony. We're looking at a 2-1 lead here for Sentinels.
Woo! Sentinels icing up when it matters most, and this game's gonna end 2-1 just by that timer running down to 0 seconds. You have to think, what if Optic were able to close that out 20, 30 seconds early when it was at that bottom dip hill? It took them so much time, dude.
Yeah, it just took an extra around 50 plus, around say 50 or 55 seconds to close out that dip hill. That was a situation where you and I were even saying, there's not enough time just to slay and run out the time. You saw how well it worked once Optic started to really put the pressure on towards that nest hill, but they just didn't have enough time to work with. It just came down to proper slaying there from Sentinels. Sentinels played that third hill so well. They got the slays. They didn't commit to trying to capture that hill. They kept Optic out of it for a significant period of time. Didn't let any member get in for a second or two to move it towards top nest. And they just did everything right.
And now from this point forward, this is very much doable for Sentinels. Going into the first 3 games, you had to take at least one of them that also was one of Optic's favorites and one of your weaker game types. That includes King of the Hill. They stepped it up when it matters most. Now we're going into Oddball, and Sentinels are a very good Oddball team. In fact, their second best game type going into this next one. Sentinels put themselves in prime position to pull off what might be an upset against Optic Gaming here, and maybe, just maybe, become your #1 seed in the pool of death. How crazy would that be?
It is very possible. I mean, if we're talking early Halo Infinite, when I see anything live fire, I think Optic Gaming all the way. But as you said before, Oddball, really strong game type here for Sentinels. They know how to rotate so well. They thrive under some of those chaotic situations that we've seen through a couple of these games, as we saw there on King of the Hill, and as we saw on Slayer Recharge. Different scenarios. Sentinels just did so well. So we're going to see if they can close out this game #4 and potentially take out Optic 3-1. This would be a massive upset, a massive win here for Sentinels, and also set that pace and tone for the rest of this weekend.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this could be the final time we see Optic in pool play if Sentinels are able to close it out. We're dropping here Oddball on live fire, Overshield, Sniper, got a little bit of heat wave action, and it's all about controlling those spawns and locking in a setup. Easier said than done, but that's why I'm here talking and not playing.
Much easier said than done. Now, one thing I felt that was very key to a lot of these successful pushes here from Sentinels is just these aggressive angles and pushes that we've been able to see from the likes of bubu, being able to sneak behind enemy lines, create some chaos. Now, can Sentinels do those same sort of pushes here on Livefire? I feel like Livefire gets locked down quite a bit more. Yes, you can take certain rotations. Yes, you can fly across the top center together as a team, but we won't see as many sneaky individual angles that we were seeing on larger maps or more convoluted maps like Recharge and Solitude.
Well, that's a sneaky angle right there that Lucid took with that sniper. He knew that ultimately Sentinel was spawning over toward the green side, blocks out that angle. Formal now has the overshield and heat wave combination, takes down 1, make it 2 as LethuL and Falcated both go down, and Optic still have the ball.
Optic off to a strong start here. Series is far from over. But if, and Tony, hear me out on this hypothetical.
Okay.
If Optic were to lose this series, you know who that would put them up against bracket play a little bit earlier? Quadrant. Most likely they'd play Quadrant earlier, who was the one to knock them out of Arlington. So Optic, sure, want the rematch at some point, but I don't know if they want that early in the bracket.
Yeah, both of these teams were knocked out at Arlington by Quadrant, both Sentinels and Optic, so I don't know if that's more motivation to play them again or to push it back, but as of right now, Optic desperately need this Game 4 win in order to send us into a Game 5, 25-0 start. But now Sentinels have that ball and are slowly starting to move into the defensive stance.
Yeah, defensive stance. They have that ball all the way towards green, but Lucid still not very comfortable here in this position, hoping that his teammates can push on over, but all his teammates getting picked off, and he's just hoping that thing resets. It's been alone for quite some time, and now Lucid kind of being a one-man army charging towards Overshield, flanking over on LethuL, and the damage has been done. And oh my gosh, that's a ping-pong and back and forth plasma grenade. Haven't seen one of those in a long while.
Somehow doesn't find the kill, but they weren't able to take down Lucid, and Falcated wasn't able to escape that situation, so another engagement now goes towards Optic Gaming. That repulse might have been huge for both Lucid and Optic.
Yeah, looking right here, trying to take over towards this top tower, but Lucid down, APG down. Ball is not in position to be played, even though we saw Optic kind of grab it early on. Looks like it never was able to rotate outside of tunnel. Formal trying everything can to get out of there, but LethuL gonna beat down Matt, Formal, and TriPPPeY, and that's gonna create an opportunity for Spartan to push this ball on over towards Garage.
Sentinels have been really picking up in the Slays department and finally starting to convert into some ball time. Sparty dropped that ball just momentarily to secure the kill, but that grenade, little Marty down grenade coming out of nowhere, takes him down. TriPPPeY coming in with the heat wave. Knock, knock, who's there? Optic recover.
Optic just did a great job taking over that ball rotation, taking over Garage. You know Sentinels were hoping that once they got over there, they'd be able to acquire a little bit more time, but unfortunately, too many kills going in the favor of their opponents. Now TriPPPeY kind of on a flank, left the ball to be on its own for a moment here, and gonna try to pick off this new ball.
Ball finds the hands of Sentinels, but TriPPPeY still has a huge flank. He sees that bubu was preoccupied, takes this the opportunity to chase Falcated away. Sentinels do end up going 3 down. Falcated might have escaped, but to keep your eyes on the prize, it's all about that ball time.
And rotating all the way towards back green, they're in a much safer spot here. Many of these other times where we've been seeing Optic get the ball out, it's been stuck over towards tunnel, or they've had it die towards back green, and that's going to be a death sentence. So you're going to see TriPPPeY right here take his teammate's death screen. Foreman's going to let him know when someone's getting nearby, and he's going to play that ball if needed, and that's TriPPPeY tossing that one off the map. Ball respawn, and APG are there to watch it. But he's in a difficult situation. He has OS. He does not want to grab this. He was hoping somebody from Sentinels would just dive right on it so he could fight that one-on-one and then rotate. But ultimately, he's just been wasting a lot of time in bottom center and now decides to pick it up. Not the incorrect play, but not the way that APG hoped that went down.
Well, I mean, it's working out some way, somehow, because not only did Optic have a 65-15 lead, but like you said, APG with that overshield now is able to drop the ball and put down the damage he was looking for as Sparty loses the sniper, Falcated loses his life as well. You only have one more player to deal with in LethuL, and LethuL's going in for the challenge. He's also going to the black screen. Optic might get some valuable time.
APG just buying time. And that's what you'll see all these top teams and players do when they have the numbers advantage, when they're going to get help faster. However, you'll see the exact opposite reaction when they are down in numbers. They're going to panic. They're going to charge straight towards the fight and try to finish that fight. It's all about who's getting help first and reacting properly.
It's only about a 7 or 8 kill difference on the score line after that big 3 down going in favor of Optic, but it's such a dominant performance, at least in the oddball time. 80-15 run coming out of Optic at the moment. They have been so good in the objective efficiency department, and it might just net them a round number 1 early ball played, and APG put it on the jukes. Oh, whew.
That could have been scary if he didn't have a teammate there to help him. I mean, he had the jukes. He had them all twisted up. So great play there by APG, and also a great heads-up early play ball. One thing we were critiquing there before this game started was saying, hey, are Optic going to be as strong here on oddball compared to Sentinels? And the answer is yes. Optic are doing well, like you said. Objective efficiency-wise, they're doing so strong. Game number 1, Optic dominated just because they outslayed so hard. Once we're back towards the even slaying, we're going to really see who's the better objective player, and that still turns out to be Optic here in Game 4.
Another overshow finds the hands of APG, and another oddball round won here by Optic. 1 round away from ultimately sending us into that game number 5. Sentinels, can you respond?
Sentinels want to get a bit of a stronger start. Every single time we saw Sentinels really get the ball out, it almost felt like they were kind of doing a delivery service for Optic. They're saying, hey, you guys want to do a setup in garage? Here you go. You don't have to bring it all the way from tunnel. We need to see Sentinels get a strong setup of their own and rotate in the correct direction. We've seen them grab it at the correct times, and I don't know if it's either running in the wrong directions or they're not executing the kills that they need to during that rotation. But something has not been clicking for Sentinels so far this oddball game, and they have 1 round to figure out, because if they don't get it figured out now and soon, they're going to go to a game 5.
This is not a 3rd, maybe 4th overshield in the row that finds the hands of Optic Gaming. Sentinels, if they want to make these setup breaks easier, they got to get the overshield. You're seeing what they do. TriPPPeY finds one, another one goes down for Sentinels. Luckily, they are able to deal with him, but you're once again 3 down, and now your last player falls. APG still has that ball, and it's a 30-0 start.
And just slowly and cautiously rotating that ball around. You don't see Optic at the moment over-committing with that ball, rotating all the way towards green or running back towards dummies. In fact, they get a little bit caught off guard with it, and they get to play ball. But more importantly, it's not just going directly in the hands or the setup of Sentinels.
Formal drops that sniper off for Sentinels. You talk about hand delivering some of these power-ups and power-ups. That sniper now sitting over toward the mid-map. We have an individual fight between APG and Falcated. Falcated, he's trying to dance on low, but I think the kids call that getting sturdy. I'm still learning.
And look at that after those dance moves and also that rotation, getting the ball back in the hands of Optic. It feels like anytime a few kills resolve themselves, it's Optic coming out ahead with the better positioning and with the oddball. We have yet to see Sentinels touch it here in this round number 2, and they need to do something quick. Overshield's coming up soon. This could be the opportunity, but it feels like they're a little disjointed. You see members of Sentinels pushing down low. You see some pushing towards Plat. I don't really see anyone getting up high with this OS just yet, and now we are seeing it in the hands of Sparty. Gets the flank, there's a double. Now, can they get this into a full proper setup? Because they have 50 seconds to make up here, Tony.
Optic been able to turn that positioning that you were talking about into a 52-0 start, but finally Sentinels find themselves in overshield. They find themselves some pressure, a few points on the board. That's not enough.
No, and it felt like a very admirable charge there from Sparty, but didn't have the backup he needed. I liked how he closed that gap in a very concealed way, pushing over from Nest and going in towards those 2 boxes, but ultimately still jumps out and challenges against 2 players, and not much you can do there unless he has a little bit more help. So just needs to be a little bit more on the same page here, because we're seeing Sentinels get many members down here from Optic, but they only have 8 points to show for it. They can't consistently expect to get Optic down, all 4 down, 10+ times. They need to get longer rallies of oddball time.
Bubu was able to get away with that sniper, and Falcated finds that ball quickly, trying to look for where exactly Optic is spawning over toward the seaside. It looks like bubu recognizing it. If he hits a couple of shots here, that will slow down Optic, but they are already pushing. Formal taking the low side over towards screens. Bubu just looks away. He has to be careful. Formal's right behind him. Here's the flank.
Great movement from Formal, great flank, and essentially Optic pushed all the way across the map, not really letting the sniper be of any use. They get the flank, they get the kill on the snipe, and now they have their own setup. So that second setup we saw from Sentinels, 12 points. Optic just getting those kills. Let's see how they react with their 5th or 6th setup, depending on what number they're at right now.
81-20 start. At this point, Sentinels need to pick it up. LethuL immediately firing for the overshield. That shroud was perfectly placed in order to help him get out of that line of sight. Pop that overshield, but Optic still have the ball on the green side setup. 10 seconds away from ultimately taking this game and sending us to a game 5. Sentinels, you gotta push right now. Falcon and bubu are trying to get there. Eventually, TriPPPeY goes down. Just 3 seconds needed for Optic Gaming.
Taking them all down. Formal, the last one alive. Is he going to desperate on it? Of course not. He's going to try to go for some plays, get some damage, gets a player 1 shot over at Keydor, but there is little to no room for error, and I don't know if I can say I have the confidence that Sentinels can really bring this back. In fact, Lucid's going to quick scoop that up and close out game number 4. We're going to game 5, Tony.
Optic Gaming looking clean in that one. Sentinels, they played well in that game number 3, but that game 4 was all Optic Gaming. That was a dominant performance. Like you said, one of the best live fire teams for a reason during the HCS. Optic Gaming putting on yet another clinic, even on one of their weaker game types.
Yeah, and I was a bit surprised there because I felt like Sentinels, they had a lot of things that were clicking. It felt like many times they were stringing together the kills. They weren't able to stagger the kills and spawns against their opponents, but they also just didn't really ever get strong setups or strong rotations with the ball, so there's definitely something missing there, and that's got to be a bit deflating. You go in up 2-1 against Optic, you want to kick them while they're down. You want to take them out while you have the best chance, but these series have their ebbs and flows. Optic are not going to be taken down so easily, and we're going to our first game 5 here, Tony. I mean, we cast kind of the best series on main stage. I feel like we always are blessed with the best matches, the ones that go the closest, the ones that go the longest. I can't complain.
And it's so easy to do our jobs, but the series are exciting.
Yes.
As what we're seeing on screen. As we look at the highlights, we did get the chance to see a little bit of the player cams, and you got to see a little frustration on the face of LethuL. I feel like Bubu Dubu was trying to, like, you know, maybe give out some words of encouragement. That's one thing I worry about with Sentinels. When things are going hot, when things are riding their way, you know, I'm from New Jersey, like Sparty. I'm a hype my teammates up. I got the same exact energy, but now the question is what happens when things aren't exactly going your way?
Well, when things aren't going your way, you're going to have to reset and bounce back. Taking a quick look at these teams' Slayer records so far this year, a clear disparity. Optic, 22-9 in their Slayer game modes. Sentinels, 13-12, essentially flipping a coin here. We are going to have to see who's going to pull this one out, because this one is going on the streets. When we consider how fast-paced Sentinels were playing earlier on something like Recharge, on Solitude, they felt strong. Streets is about as fast as you can possibly get. So once we kick this game off, we're gonna see, are they going to continue to start to flank, try to force all the action, or are they gonna slow it down and wait for the right moment to strike?
You know, it's funny because Sparty always talks about Streets being one of his weaker maps and not one of his favorites, but I also see them drop a Rampage on Streets. So I don't know exactly, and it was on a Slayer too, so what does that even mean? I'm not exactly sure. I will say, Sentinels did take game number 2, which was a Slayer.
Yeah.
I feel like I have seen every single one of these players on Sentinels pop off on Streets. Optic may have momentum, but all it takes is one Stalker rifle pull, one Bulldog pull. Don't get me started on those rockets and what kind of momentum they start to create. It's all about that opening break for me. It's all about stealing momentum right off the rip.
Yeah, agreed on the opening break. That's going to be incredibly strong. One thing that I think we'll also see come into play here a bit is just how are teams setting up for those rockets as they come up here on Streets? How are they playing during those times? Because as we saw on Livefire, it felt like Optic just pretty much got every single OS. Yes, we saw 1 or 2 going in the favor of Sentinels, but for the most part, it felt like Optic were a step ahead, always on top of that power-up, always had a numbers advantage going into that power-up. Is that going to be the same case here? I mean, when it came to Slayer Recharge, when it came to those camos, I felt like it was fairly even back and forth. It felt like a lot of teams, they were both heavily contesting that camo, and it was kind of a coin flip on who was getting away with those ones. So we're going to have to see who gets away with those rockets. Who is deciding the pace of this game? Is it going to be Sentinels trying to push their aggressive play style, trying to stagger the spawns on Optic? Or are they going to allow Optic to make some incorrect pushes, make some mistakes of their own? Because we have seen Sentinels continually try to push their advantage and try to make a play. You'll see Bubu and Spartan try to be those playmakers, and that's Spartan right off the bat, tossing those rockets back to his teammates in the form of Bubu Dubu.
As important as we're talking about how the opening breaks are going to be, every game so far has kind of favored Optic over towards that opening break, even the ones where Sentinels ended up winning, but Sentinels win over those rockets in the hands of Bubu Dubu. First 2 kills end up going towards them, and now they have an opportunity to trap Optic, limit their options right off a spawn.
Yeah, and Bubu just a little too late checking that spot. Knew that somebody was likely towards bomb stairs. TriPPPeY relocating and getting taken out by Falcated, but right there, great initial start here from Sentinels. How are they going to follow it up? Is basically a tie game. We did see them get into their comfort zone as they got a bit of a lead. Do they need a little bit more to get that lead? And that's going to be 2 down here for Optic, staggering spawns.
And just to kind of remind you guys of what's on the line here, this is game 5 here in your pool of death, where both of these teams are undefeated. This matchup will end up deciding who goes into bracket play as the first seed and who ends up going as the second seed here. This is so important. There's so much implications. Obviously, Optic and Sentinels are aware that Sentinels starting off with just a small lead. It looks like that Threat Seeker might have given them some information. Lucid gets a double kill. Falcated puts that shotty to the body. Now looking for the trip, dancing a little bit, and Sparty, he flies his way into that situation.
Falcated just doing such a good job realizing that his teammate was going to give him help. He just had to dodge back and forth in that arcade to stay alive. The general rule of thumb with these pro players is if you have numbers advantage, like I said before, you're waiting for your teammates to help you. Second rule of thumb is if you are low shield, you want to be the same size as your teammate if you have lower shield than an opponent. Whereas if you have more shield, you want to go opposite way with your teammates so you can secure that kill and not let them run circles around you. So Falcated just doing a good job dancing back and forth, hearing from his teammate which side was safe.
you got the third most important rule of thumb. Give Falcated the Sentinel beat. That's the most important one. My man is flying right now as rockets do end up coming up. They're picked up, but not used just yet. My gosh, Party going right into the face of Formal. 2 players, Optic, 1 shot over towards the green gen. You see the spike grenades trying to pick them up, but Optic stay alive. Lucid gets away with rockets.
One thing that's interesting too, as we saw from Formal there in that last engagement, and throughout engagements throughout this entire match, is he's always looking for the wait for the 2-shot melee. Whereas you see a lot of opponents, you saw Sparty in this most recent engagement, or you saw earlier on Recharge, where Sparty will go for that melee right away and then try to get that shot or that second melee. Seems like Formal is more comfortable going for the 2-shot melee, assuming that he can execute, he will get that kill faster than the person that melees.
As of right now, Lucid looking for his next target with the rockets. No melee is needed if you play your cards just right. You're only down by 3 kills, but that 1 kill could turn to 2, which can turn the tables for you, for Optic Gaming. But the game gonna slow down. Sparty just daring Lucid to cross that path. It looks like Lucid able to spot out 1 with the rockets over toward the Stalker's side. Sparty puts Lucid down to 1 shot. Can't quite find the kill. Luckily, Falcated is there, but so is Formal with the Bulldog.
The calm before the storm. You saw those players waiting to see when that shroud would dissipate, where those members are going to be towards the top balcony. I want to go to a listen with Formal and the Optic Gaming squad to see how they're going to try to close out this crucial game number 5.
Yo, back nest. Yo, they're going back to me. They're going back to me. Yo, listen, hold this. Keep holding sub. Keep holding sub.
Yo, top nest is square.
I can play purple here.
Yo, one guy PD. Yo, they're hitting rail. They're doubling rail. They're doubling rail.
Yo, mid, guys.
You can fight mid. You guys can just fight mid. You guys can just fight purple.
I got one.
Rail.
One rocket down ATM. One rocket down ATM, guys. One rocket down. Nice, 2. One rocket down. ATM, Tom. He's ATM with it. With a rocket. Way
down by 2.
Yo, go back to nest here.
If Stalker's on.
Might have a rocket just sitting here.
ATM rockets.
Okay, just find this rocket guy and play away from him.
Just
One guy rail. Yo, half shields rail.
One rail. Jesse, 3 rail.
Three or
2 guys left. 3 left.
Go right. Don't look back.
Yo, what's your right?
Laundry.
Go right.
Yo, one guy, main right, one shot. I got one. Mid right. ATM. He's main right, 2 main right right now. Use numbers. Okay, reset, guys, reset. Can we get back into sub here? I spawned here,
I
actually.
got you. Yo, calm the comms, guys. Let us a little bit. Just a little.
Yep. Yo, can we clear our close angles here? Like, clear our
Nothing
trash.
out market. Just come out here.
Okay, we're in a good setup. Joey. Yo, on spikes, Brad, on spikes, Brad.
Absolute purple, guys. Absolute purple spikes. Absolute purple spikes. One's rail as well.
One guy rail.
Go rail together. Go rail.
Help me right, Tommy.
I know. They're already here. They're already here.
They're gonna be cut.
I got a melee. He's one shot. Yo, those guys trash.
Top out.
Guys, we need to start playing away from this now.
I need it. Or just
Red.
red.
We fight that together. I spawned PD, guys.
Yo, cuts free kill. Cuts weak as hell. Cuts weak as hell.
Watch your-
One shot.
On spikes as well.
I'm in red.
Wait, can you guys help me get back to red?
Yeah.
Look at Lucid leading his squad throughout that listening. One thing that was most notable to me is, more often than not, Lucid would locate where a couple of members are, and instead of saying, help me, get over here, he said, fight a different direction. He'd find players over at rail and say, push purple, push center, get away from their mass forces. It's a very interesting mindset to say, instead of meeting their forces head on and finding where people are at and just running like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to find fights, they are trying to find the advantageous angles that they can push across the map. They know that the opposing team isn't going to put all 4 members in one area, and so they're saying, all right, as soon as we find 2 or 3, let's go overload the other side of the map, pick off those 1 or 2 members, and we will have the advantage.
Optic have done a great job of finding the weakness in the pushes of Sentinels, but up until this point, as you see Sentinels put Optic 3 down, the final player alive is APG. Wanted to take down 1 before going down himself. Looks like that's not gonna happen. Lucid hits the black screen as well, but it's still just a 1-kill game, and Formal, he has the rockets.
As the Rockets gonna see what he can do to lock down this neon side, has to know players are coming from the opposite end. Since he has this fully locked down. Now this could be a little sketchy. He gotta know somebody nearby, and what a sneaky spot from Spartan. Doesn't even trade. So what a turning of tides there by Spartan to perfectly play that corner on Neon.
Them rockets ain't rocketing right now, and Sparty somehow gets away with his life. puts that player down to one shot with the rockets, but Sparty's taking height. It looks like there's a player literally right behind him, somehow staying alive, and that player is one shot, so he's gonna try to hunt him down. Trades out his life to Sparty and TriPPPeY.
Sparty not hesitating to create some action, realizing that he can get behind enemy lines, cause chaos and panic, and create opportunity for the rest of Sentinels members to fly across the map. This is the 3-kill lead here for Sentinels. Expect the same style of playstyle. Once we go back to someone's POV like Bubu or Sparty later on, you'll see that they're gonna try to find some angle or some weakness in the setup of Optic, get a little further along, and then the rest of the Sentinels are gonna fly. And look at this, Optic all going back towards the tram. They must have been lured in by a certain member. And all of a sudden, Optic are stuck in one spot of the map. That's 3 down. Bubu securing the kill on Formal over at top balcony.
LethuL did a great job of creating a distraction over towards the B Street, allowing Sparty to get aggressive by sneaking into the arcade, and because of that, B Street gets wiped. Sparty puts his 19th kill on the board. LethuL's able to take down APG. Finally, Optic are fighting back, but it's a 5-kill game, and Sentinels are 5 kills away from taking it.
Formal getting the rockets, gets the damage on Spartan, but Spartan able to live with just a sliver of health, somehow gets the double, fighting APG for the triple, and the damage has been done. Sentinels 2 kills away from taking first place in Pool D above Optic Gaming.
LethuL immediately takes height. A little isolated at the moment, but it's like Optic doesn't recognize that dead, and the cross-map shots coming out of nowhere allow Sparty to steal that kill, and LethuL is somehow still alive over toward the back seat. Now Sparty's in the face doing damage onto multiple players. Bubu Dubu picks it up. Optic go down. Optic go down.
Spartan and Sentinel celebrating, rightfully so. Able to take out the juggernaut in Optic Gaming here in pool play. Their work is just starting off, but their weekend is looking bright, as that is such a massive victory here for Sentinels.
A Game 5 win against the Green Wall, and you saw how excited Sparty got. I mean, come on, with that kind of performance in a Game 5 when the lights are brightest, Sentinels taking the #1 seed in the pool of death after a huge win on Optic Game.
They gotta be proud. I mean, I just saw so many great plays out of Sentinels there. There were certain times where we were critical of their objective play on games 1 and 4, but the rest of the time, they stuck to their aggressive play style. They let their playmakers create opportunities. The rest of the teammates backed them up when needed. Anytime that Optic gave up a little bit of ground, Sentinels recognized it and took that ground. You even saw it from LethuL at the very end of the game. He knew a couple members were coming over towards Tram. He checked Tram, realized it was clear, and says, you know what, I'm going to push all the way towards Commando. I'm going to go over there so I can get an angle on stairs. He realized that nobody from Optic was pushing all the way across and decided to take up more ground and get an additional angle.
Yeah, it's crazy because, you know, our eyes are drawn to the dynamic kills that you see Sparty and Falcated get. But, you know, one thing I learned from the Utah Jazz is every Malone needs a Stockton. So the same way you see those plays coming out on screen is the same way that either LethuL or Bubu Dubu are playing their life, being that anchor, really really leading the troops and guiding where the action's coming from to make it easy for your Slayers to come out and to take advantage. So, excellent performance out of everyone out of the Sentinel squad. It takes a full team to beat a team like Optic Game.
Yes, absolutely. And they got to be proud. I mean, a lot of close score lines, especially in those last 4 games, but a win is a win, and congratulations, Sentinels. However, rather than hearing it from us, I want to hear from Blaze. I believe he's down there with LethuL. Take it away.